What is up, everybody? It is your boy Viper Parlay, and today we're going to be talking about the prelims for UFC Fight Night Whittaker versus Till. And man, am I excited to go through this card. Go ahead and drop your comments below on who you think is going to win the prelims. If you agree or disagree with my choices, let's have a fun discussion here. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So the format we're going to be doing is putting a face to the name of each fighter. So I'm going to show you a picture of them, show you their stats, go through some of their recent wins and losses. So this is Nathaniel the Prospect Wood, 26 years old, from London, England, 5'6", 135 pounds, really lean, really young. His record is 16 wins and 4 losses. Let's go ahead and analyze some of the most recent wins and losses that he's had. And right before we do that, we also see that he's had 9 TKOs, 5 submissions, 2 decisions, and then he's also lost to 2 TKOs and 2 submissions. So most recently, he's had a loss to John Dodson. It's a pretty well-known name, back in February 15, 2020. Before that, he's had a win against Jose Alberto Quinones, and that was with a submission, a rear naked choke on the second round. So that was pretty impressive. Andre Ewell, he also had a win against him back in December of 2018. It was a round 3 submission, rear naked choke again. So really, we can see that he's very dominant with his submissions and his ground game. If we look at his fight against Johnny Eduardo, that was back in 2018 June. It was a round 2 victory, and that was by what's called a Bravo choke, which is kind of rare, very interesting. Even before that, you could see that he's beaten Luca back on March 24, 2018, and you could see actually that it was a knockout. So this kid, he's really displaying different styles, strong grappling, strong submission recently. He's had knockouts before, but he did face John Dodson and he came up a little bit short. So it's going to be interesting to see how he matches up against his opponent, who we're going to be talking about next. His opponent is none other than John Sexy Mexi Castaneda. What a nickname. 28 years old, so they're both similar in age. 5'7", so there's a 1-inch advantage here. 135 pounds, so he's also very lean here. And his record is at a solid 17 wins and 4 losses. So they're pretty evenly matched. Very tough fight to kind of bet on. But let's go ahead and observe what those victories are, what those defeats are, and some of his opponents recently. We have a solid 6 TKOs, 6 submissions, and 5 decisions for his victories. And for his losses, we have 1 TKO and then 3 decisions. So not too bad. Let's go ahead and see who he's fought recently. So back in 2019 of April, so it's been a little bit of time, but he fought against Marcelo Rojo and he won in the 3rd round with a submission, arm triangle choke. And then recently, before then, there were 2 losses, one to Jose Alde back in 2018, so a year before that, and then November of 2017. Both of those being decisions, one being a split, one being a unanimous, so that it went the distance. And then before that, he has a couple more wins. There was a decision against Mark Gomez Serial back in 2017. So, that's an individual that has fought here and there kind of sparsely, but let's go ahead and start discussing who we think is going to win and who my pick is for that specific fight. And guys, if I'm being honest with you, I have Nathaniel Wood winning this one. I mean, we have 2 guys who are young. They are great fighters, super submission skills, as we've seen in their previous record. But I feel like Nathaniel Wood has been more active. He's had more wins recently compared to Castaneda. So my bet is with him. Now, would I bet on this first specific fight? It might not be the smartest. To be honest, this whole card is full of, 50-50 type of situations. And then the favorites are very, very heavily favorited if you look at the betting odds. And we're going to go over that in an upcoming video this week before the fight. So on that note, actually, make sure you subscribe, check it out, because we have a bunch of videos coming through analyzing everything. But yeah, for this fight, I have Nathaniel Wood. We're going to move right along to the next fight. So the next fighter we have is Ramzan Goretzev. I don't know if I'm saying that right, guys. Please forgive me. He's 33 years old, fairly young, from Dagestan, Russia. You already know they're warriors out there. 5'10", 170 pounds, solid stats. Let's look at his record. He has 18 wins and 4 losses. Not too bad. 3 TKOs, 7 submissions, 8 decisions. And then looking at his losses, He has 1 TKO against him, 1 submission against him, and then 2 decisions. Not too bad losses to record, especially the decisions, but let's go ahead and take a quick look of his recent fight history. So most recent, there was a loss to Anthony Rocco Martin. It was a unanimous decision. It went the full distance. It was back in 2019, November, so it's almost been about a year. And then there is Stefan Sekulik, who he won against in a unanimous decision. And then a couple more wins after that. It was a unanimous decision again against Alberto Mina back in 2018. And then Sam Alvey back in October 2017, and that was a unanimous decision as well. So clearly someone who can go the full distance, someone who has the ability to take the fight all the way to the end and still be able to come out with the victory. Now let's go ahead and look at his opponent here. His opponent is Nicolas Green Mask Stolze. Hope I'm saying that right, but he's 27 years old, very young, and he's from Germany, specifically Magdeburg, Saxony-Anhalt. But anyways, he's associated with SBG Ireland, Team La Onda. He's 6 feet tall, so there is a height advantage here, 170 pounds, pretty dominant. So 12 wins, 3 losses. He has 4 TKOs, 5 submissions, and 3 decisions for his victories. And looking at his losses, he's faced 3 decision losses, so hasn't been knocked out or submitted or anything like that. Recently, let's look at his wins and losses. A lot of wins recently, so he's been kind of on a streak here. Let's analyze that. So most recently, he's been against Omar Jesus Santana. It was a unanimous decision back in April 2019. He went the distance. And then there was Christian Draxler. He won by TKO, solid punches back on February 2019, that same year. It was the first round. And then there was Jan Janka. There was a submission, rear naked choke. So we're seeing a bit of a variety in this kid. And we can also see another submission, rear naked choke before that with Johannes Michelik or Michelin Tires, whatever his last name is. And his last loss was all the way back in 2017 against Chris Stringer. And it was a decision, of course. So that was one of those. And so let's go ahead and talk about who I think is going to win out of those two. And this one is also very hard to call. I hate going against Dagestani fighters because, man, their work ethic is Kobe-like. But I do think that Nicolas is going to come out with this one with the win. He's just the younger individual. He's been a little bit more active. He's had a bit more wins recently compared to Emev. And he also has a greater height advantage. So overall, I'm just going to go with him. I'm fairly confident he's going to be able to come out and do exactly what he needs to do to get that victory. Up next, we have Pani Kianzad Bonsai. Man, I am butchering these names. But yeah, Pani Bonsai Kianzad. And just looking at some of those stats, 28 years old from Helsingborg, Skane, Sweden, 5'7", 135 pounds. So we have 12 wins, 3 TKOs, but 9 decisions. So definitely not a finisher. 5 losses, which is 1 TKO, 2 submissions, and 2 decisions. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of her recent wins and losses. Back in November 2019, she faced Jessica Rose Clark. It went to a decision. It was a unanimous decision, and she got the victory. Then before that, Julia Avila, she lost to her in a unanimous decision in the same year, July. And then in the same year, back in May, there was a victory, unanimous decision. So clearly, someone who's just not a finisher. But even before that, there was a submission, and she had lost against Macy Kiasun. That was back in 2018. So let's go ahead and look at her opponent, which everyone knows, Beche Correa or Beth Gray. I don't even know how to say it, but she's the pit bull. Let's look at some of her stats here. 37 years old, which might play a big factor in this fight. 5'4", so disadvantage in the height. 135 pounds. 11 wins, 4 losses. With the wins, she has 2 TKOs and 9 decisions, so not really a finisher either. And then with the losses, 2 TKOs, 1 submission, and 1 decision. So most recently, back in September 2019, she fought against Sajara Eubanks, and it was a unanimous decision victory. And then 2 of the fights before that, she fought Irene Aldana, which was a submission loss, and then a KO from Holly Holm. So she lost to Holly Holm back in 2017. And if we go before then, there were fighters like Jessica Ai, who's pretty well known, Raquel Pennington. She beat Jessica Ai, but she lost against Raquel Pennington. And then before that, she had a loss against Ronda Rousey. So, definitely a well-known name. However, kind of comes up short here and there. And now time to talk about the predictions for this fight. I'm gonna have to go with Pannie Kianzad, you guys. I feel like there's almost a 10-year age difference, and to be honest, between 28 and 37 or 38, that's a major difference for an athlete. So not only is she younger, but she has a height advantage. I feel more confident with her overall recent wins and things like that. And sure, Beth has fought more bigger names and bigger fighters, so she has the experience under her belt. I just feel like, her time is kind of passed a little bit, and I feel like Kianzad is going to get it done. So that's personally who I'm going for. And then moving right on to the next fight here, we have Tanner the Bulldozer Boser, and you might be like, hey, I've seen this guy recently. Yup, you are right. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. So he's 28 years old, fairly young. He is from Alberta, Canada. He's 6'2", very tall, 235 pounds, so he's a heavy kid. And then he has 18 wins, pretty solid experience, along with 6 losses. So the 18 wins are 9 TKOs, 2 submissions, and 7 decisions. 6 losses are 1 TKO, followed by 0 submissions and 5 decisions. There's also 1 draw. So let's take a look. Most recently, this guy's had experience just like we talked about. You might recognize him. Back on June 27, 2020, he did a KO round 1 against Felipe Lins. I remember I was going for this guy, and man, I was happy. Before then, he lost to Kyril Gain. It was a unanimous decision. You could kind of overlook that. Then there was Daniel Spitz. It was a unanimous decision victory back in October 2019. There was a TKO against Jared Kilkenny back in 2019 as well in May. So this is someone who can definitely, finish someone off. He's very strong. He has that power in his punches. And he also has the ability to go full distance if he has to. So let's look at his opponent now. We have Rafael Bebezao Pessoa. A little bit about this guy. He is 31 years old, from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 6'4", so very tall, 247 pounds. Let's go ahead and take a look at his record. 10 wins, 6 of which are TKOs, 1 submission, 3 decisions, and only 1 loss. So this is kind of tough. And that loss was a submission. So most recently he fought Jeff Hughes back in October 2019. It's a unanimous decision. And then he lost, look who he lost to, Kyril Gain, a name that I'll never understand. Back in August 2019, it was a submission arm triangle choke. Brian Heaton, before that, it was a TKO. So he finished that fight. And then one more before that, let's take a look. It is Wagner Maya. He won by a decision. So pretty interesting. He's had wins before that too. Solid record, to be honest. Let's go ahead and try to break down who's going to win and why and how. And on this one, you guys, I'm going to have to go with the Bulldozer Tanner Boser. Honestly, he's a little bit young, although not young enough to where that can be an advantage. He has a disadvantage with the height a little bit, but this is one of those fights where it's very 50-50. But I've seen Boser fight more recently, and I'm very confident in his skills, so I'm just gonna put my faith in that one. But it is a very close fight to call, and again, we're gonna be looking at the odds in another video this week, so stay in tune for that. So yeah, basically I think he's gonna get the TKO. Moving right along to the next fight, we have Movsar Evloev. Probably butchering that name as usual, but let's take a look at this kid. 26 years old, so he's a young buck. He's from Russia, so they make him tough. 5'8", 135 pounds, 12 wins, which are a bit spread out. He has 3 TKOs, 4 submissions, and 5 decisions, and then 0 losses. Solid guy. And then we have some of his fights recently. Enrique Barzola, October 2019, unanimous decision. And then Seong Woo Choi in April 2019, unanimous decision. Rafael Diaz, July 21st, 2018, with a KO punch. And then we have Sergey Morozov, technical submission, rear naked choke in 2018. So interesting wins, like I said, very spread out. Good prospect, honestly. And then if we look at his opponent now, his opponent is Mike Grundy. Both of these lads are very young, very lean. So he's 33. He's 5'8", 145, so pretty even matchup there. And then if we look at the wins and losses, we have 12 wins, one of which is a TKO, 8 submissions, 3 decisions, so clearly heavier on the submissions. Only one loss, and that was a submission. Most recent fight was with Nad Narimani. It was a TKO, and he won by his punches. Then there was Fernando Bruno before that, a unanimous decision. Michael Tobin before that, submission, guillotine choke. Yutaka Saito before that, and that was a decision, unanimous decision. And then Faoud Mesidari, and that was a submission, arm triangle choke. So clearly really, really talented on submissions. We're going to be talking about who I think has this one. And guys, to be honest, I have to go with Movsar Evloev. This one is really, really close as well. I mean, so far, all the prelims are relatively close, except that Beche Correa fight. Geez, she's washed up. But yeah, this guy, he's undefeated, really strong prospect. I really believe in his strategy. He has a nice blend of victories. He's not just focused on one thing. He's good on his feet, good with his grappling, good with his submission. He's shown it over time, 12 wins, 0 losses. It's not really a thing that you could just look over and discredit. So I have him. Again, we're going to look at the odds later this week, and we're going to see what's going on with that and analyze that. We're going to do a final analysis, final decision. Keep up. We're going to be putting out videos all the time. Now we're going to move on to the very next fight, and the very next fight is Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall, he is from the greater Manchester, England, Wigan to be specific. 6'5", giant, 256 pounds, big fella, 7 wins, 5 TKOs, 2 submissions, 2 losses, one of which is a submission and the other is classified as other. So looking at some of his recent fights, back in September 2019, he had a punches TKO against Michael Ben Hamuda, and then before that, Sofian Baukichu, there was a TKO, he caused a leg injury, that was interesting. And then Kamil Basilak, before that, it was a KO punch. This is back in 2016 now, but there was also Lukas Parobiec, and that was a disqualification. He lost because of an illegal throw. His opponent, on the other hand, his name is Jake, the Prototype Collier. You might have heard of this guy, 31 years old, from Cuba, Missouri, United States. Don't let that confuse you for Cuba, but 6'3", so he has a little bit of a height disadvantage, 205 pounds. Clearly he has less mass overall compared to the other individual, but 11 wins, 4 losses, 5 TKO wins, 3 submission wins, 3 decision wins. 4 losses are stemming from different areas, so which is 2 TKOs and then 1 submission, 1 decision. Previously, November 2017, he fought Marcel Fortuna and he won with unanimous decision. He had a loss before that to Devin Clark by unanimous decision. Before that, Alberto Emilio Pereira, KO. It was a knee and a body kick. Vicious. Now we're back in 2015. There was a loss to Dongyi Yang, TKO punches. He lost to that. And then Ricardo Abreu was the fight before that, which was a split decision, just to give you kind of a taste of what we're dealing with here. So now talking about who I think is going to take this one. And I feel a little bit more comfortable with Aspinall in this. He's had a couple more recent fights compared to his opponent. His opponent, his last fights were back in 2017, whereas he's had 2 fights in 2019. He also throws bombs. He's very powerful, very capable of getting a finish and knocking out his opponents or getting a TKO. So, I'm just going with this guy. I feel more confident in him. And he's proven it before, and I feel like he's going to get the TKO in this one. And now going on to the next fight, we have Nicolas Locomotivo Dalby. Now this individual looks like a beast right off the bat, 35 years old, from Copenhagen, Denmark, 5 feet 11 inches, 170 pounds, pretty decent build, 18 wins, spread out decently, 6 TKOs, 4 submissions, 8 decisions, 3 losses, and they're going to be decisions that he's faced. And so he's also had one draw. And now moving to his previous fights, Alex Oliveira, pretty well-known name back in September 2019, unanimous decision. So he's shown that he can go the distance there. He had a no contest, skipping over that. Before that, Alex Lahore back in 2019, March, TKO, he won by punches. Before then, December 2018, Philip Mulpeter, he won by TKO, punches again. Before that, Roberto Algaretti, technical submission, rear naked choke. This is an individual who shows not only he can get the finish, but he has submission as well. So he has, a versatile array of offense. And now looking at his opponent here, it is Jesse, the body snatcher, Ronson. Now, a little bit about this kid here. 34 years old, London, Ontario, Canada. 5'9", 170 pounds, 21 wins, 10 of which are TKOs themselves. And then we have 7 submissions along with 4 decisions. Also 10 losses though, important thing to keep in mind. So 2 of those are TKOs, a submission, and then 7 decision losses. So most recently, February 2020, Troy Lamson, he beat him with a submission, rear naked choke. Suffered 2 losses before that against Nicolas Alexakin and Nathan Schultz. One was a TKO and one was a unanimous decision loss. Before that, Michael Dufort, split decision victory. Before that, Derek Gauthier, TKO submission to punches. Jeremy Capney, submission via rear naked choke. And now we're back in 2017. So who do I think is going to win out of these 2? I personally have Nicolas Dalby. You might think it's a difficult one to decide because his opponent has experience, but to be honest, I think it's fairly easy. If you look at his record, it's way better. He's on a fighting win streak. If you look at his tapes, you're going to feel fairly confident looking at this kid and being like, he's going to be the winner of the night. So pretty confident in him. And now the main event of the prelims. And man, what a card it has been so far, to be honest. I'm very excited about these prelims. I'm not gonna lie, UFC Fight Island, it's looking to be very interesting. So, jumping into the final preliminary fight of the night, we have Francisco Trinaldo. His full name, Francisco Masaranduba Trinaldo, 41 years old. My goodness, when I'm 41, I'll be lucky if I could keep watching UFC. He's from Brasilia, Federal District, Brazil, 5 feet, 8 inches tall, 155 pounds, in better shape than I'll ever be. 25 wins, 8 TKOs, 5 submissions, 12 decisions, and 7 losses. Something to keep in mind. 3 submissions and 4 of those being decisions. So looking at his record, most recently back in 2020, March, he fought John Makdessi and he won by unanimous decision. Bobby Green back in November 2019, won by unanimous decision. Lost before that to Alexander Hernandez. A couple of us have heard of him and we're pretty well aware of him. Lost by decision, unanimous decision. Before that, Evan Dunham, he knocked him out, so that was a win. He did a knee to the body. James Vick before that, it was a unanimous decision loss. Before that, Jim Miller, unanimous decision victory. So you could tell it's not really that consistent. There's like a win-loss. So we're going to keep that in mind. Now his opponent is Jay, the Black Country Banger, Herbert, 32 years old, from West Midlands, England, 6 feet 1 inches, 155 pounds. So right off the bat, height advantage like crazy. 10 wins, 8 TKOs, 1 submission, 1 decision. Clearly a power puncher, clearly a finisher, 1 loss, TKO. Look at his recent wins. I mean, we're talking about 5 or 6 wins in a row. Most recently, he fought Kane Carrizosa, and he knocked him out using his knee. That was a victory. Then before that, Jack Grant, TKO with his punches. Steve O'Keefe, TKO with his punches, victory. Joe McGolgan, TKO punches, victory. Now we're back in 2018. Erdi Karatas before that, 2018 June, unanimous decision. We're talking about victory on victory. So who do I think is going to win? I think it's pretty obvious, you guys. I have Jay Herbert. I think he has a great record. I think has a great height advantage. He's very athletic, very lean. I think he'll be able to get that TKO, and there's that age difference as well. So I think this one's pretty safe to say he's going to get that TKO. And so yeah, those are the predictions for the prelims. on this weekend. Now, we are going to be doing the same exact type of video for the main card. We're going to be talking about who I think is going to win on the main card. We're going to talk about how they're going to win, what are the odds of them winning, who are the better underdogs of the card. I'm going to also throw in a video on how you can bet and how you can, make a sports bet on this card. If you're new to that, I'll be talking, in full detail about that and what you can do to get started on that journey. And so also we're going to look at the weigh-ins and the analysis of that, how a fighter looks after the weigh-ins and weight cuts. It's very, very important and crucial and can be a big factor in who wins. So any last minute decisions will be on that final video. So, we have a lot of banger videos coming out. Go ahead, like this video if you enjoyed, even if you enjoyed it as background noise. I'm an MMA fan at heart. I'll play these kind of videos even in the background when I'm getting ready for work, crazy type of things. I just like hearing them in the background, hearing about fighters. So if you're like me and you're like that, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna have a ton of videos coming your way for each UFC event. We're gonna grow as a community. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna make some money. Let's get it. This Saturday, Till, Whittaker. Can't wait for the next video. Deuce.